This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Sedita.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sedita. We have the pleasure of being joined today by Cally Doyle. She is with Florida Realty. Cally, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for asking.
So glad to have you on. Just in case you don't know exactly what the Good Neighbor Podcast is, back during 2020, in the middle of COVID, the Good Neighbor Podcast was born for a way for businesses like you to be able to get your message out to the community while you still were able to remain socially distant. And now, 4 years later, we have podcasts from Miami out to Denver, Philadelphia, and a whole bunch of places in between. I'm fortunate enough to be the person here in Tampa that gets to talk to entrepreneurs and business owners. So with that said, tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, we have 70 agents at Florida Realty. We're a little boutique type business, and we are 100% commission, but we're a close-knit group. We help each other. We're very, very friendly toward each other rather than being our own competition.
Right.
We REOs. Basically, we list houses for banks. We work with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD.
So so you have one central office? You guys even have an office anymore that you need in?
Office. I think I'm the one that goes. I'm kind of old school. I like it, but mostly everyone's still working remote. That's what they like, but they come in field sometimes to use the workroom or the conference room.
And where's the office located?
902 West Lumsden in Brandon. It's right by Cliff Curry's Fountain Building, which is a landmark in the center of Brandon.
Okay. So, you said you're old school like that. So tell us a little bit about your story. When you were a little girl on the playground, did you want to divide up the lot and you get this piece of this piece of the courtyard, you get this piece of the courtyard? Or did you want to be a ballerina and somehow fell into this? What's your story about how you got here?
Well, I wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. That didn't work out so good, although I do swim for the Masters team here in Brandon at YMCA. But I grew up, my mom was very, very crafty, and she had a big, big family and kind of an economically distressed area, rural southern New England and Canterbury, Connecticut. She used to find these old wood frame houses, and she would go in there and make them so beautiful. And I was always in awe. And it's just funny that I grew up to start flipping houses when I have a degree in elementary education, which I wanted nothing to do with. I found out that I was really good at remodeling homes. And so, I used to watch her. She didn't really do it for a living. She did it for family members, but she was good at it. She was talented. And I learned a lot from her about symmetry and placement and coloring. She wasn't formally trained, but boy, did she have a good eye.
So you said it in southern New England and Connecticut. First question I always have when someone says that, it's a very vital question. Are you a Patriots fan?
Of course, absolutely.
All right, well, we'll still continue the podcast, even though you're a Patriots fan. You can see the Giants stuff in the background here. We won't talk about 2007. We won't bring any of that stuff up. We'll leave that out of this podcast.
Thank you.
But how long have you been down here?
I've been here since I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you've seen a lot of, and always in the Brandon area.
Valrico.
Yeah. So a lot of changes, especially in the last decade, but a lot of changes for sure.
Yes, for sure. Incredible.
So was it the almost like the thrill of taking something distressed and turning it into something beautiful and seeing the response of your family members that your mom would do this for? Do you think that's what gave you the bug to be like, I need to be doing something in this?
Yeah, I do, because I kind of repress that. We're kids, we go through life, we grow up, we get to be, start feeling our independence. What do you want to be when you grow up? So I wanted to be a school teacher. I got an elementary education degree out of USF and I took a contract over in Kuwait, believe it or not. I started teaching English to Arabic third graders. And it was a private school in Al Samia, Kuwait. It was great, except for it wasn't great after a while, because living in America, you have the best of everything. Mm. So I came home and I was like, what am I going to do? My friend said, get a real estate license. You'll love it. And I thought, So I did. and I just did because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to
Right.
go to school in Hillsborough County. They were going to start me off at $18,000 a year.
Well,
And
that was going to be my response was, well, you were going to be a school teacher, but then you realized that it pays nothing and you want to actually be able to live. So you found a career that was different, but I can understand. So wait, I got to back up though for a second. Kuwait, what year, like what time frame is this? Is this post first Gulf War?
I was there before, during, and after the invasion. The invasion was August 12th. No, August 1st, 1990.
1990. Yep.
Yeah. So when I was there, I went in July, and they were already having problems. They were already struggling. Or I was there the year before in July. So by the next July, they were giving me the green light to go.
Right.
Got to get out of here. And there were so many troubles there that I just figured they were blowing smoke. Well, they weren't. So I left on a pearl fishing boat into Bahrain, and then back through the Gulf and back up. And I got out of there safely. But that was my home, and those people took very good care of me. They took better care of me than my own family. They're lovely, lovely, lovely people. And it was a shame what happened to their country. But thank God, when the Americans came in, they were a part of a 36 coalition effort, and they liberated Kuwait in February 26th of 91. So thank goodness they got their their independence back. And after the Reconstruction, I went back.
Okay.
And American companies were in there doing the Reconstruction, and it was too sad for this little old Connecticut girl. I couldn't handle it. It was
pretty torn up.
Yeah, the oil fields were burned. People were sad. So I didn't fulfill my next contract. I came home.
All right. So you come home, you start doing real estate, and you kind of touched on in the beginning that Florida Realty is the focus of Florida Realty, all 70 of you? Is it just those bank-owned things or those refurbished jobs? Or are there people doing, normal listings and working as buyer's agency, or is the firm itself focused solely on that?
The firm itself started with that. And then as we gained more agents, we have a lot of rental agents, property management, regular residential, a few luxury. We have mostly investment realtors that concentrate on residential. So when you have a lot of listings that are REO based, you get a lot of calls from investors. So we started focusing on that and kind of got a name for that. But I'm going to tell you about half of our realtors are residential specialists.
Okay. So, you start out, you have this creative bug that you've suppressed, but now you're selling homes. How do you make the transition from being the realtor who knocks on the FSBO's door and gets that listing to the person who's now working with the banks and getting that type of listing? Everybody thinks real estate is real estate. And that's kind of that would lead me to like a question about misconception.
Right.
Doing what you do is like a niche within the real estate world.
Yeah. And here's why. When I got my license, I was very I misunderstood the whole concept. I'm going to go sell a house. Woo. Not really like that. So what I did is I was very confused. So I answered an ad in the Tampa Tribune, for a print ad from way back, and I think it was 1994, something like that. And I didn't have a license. I was just thinking about doing it. So Jim Coolidge was a broker out in Tampa, and he was a HUD certified broker. And he taught me how to sell HUD homes. So when I got my license, I didn't even know there was an MLS. I didn't even care. I was just selling HUD homes. And I was selling them for $30,000, $35,000 out in Tampa.
Right.
All over the place in Hillsborough, Polk, Pasco. If there was a home to be sold, buddy, I drove there.
And it's housing and urban development, HUD, correct?
Yeah, which is FHA. It's a federal program. So if you have an FHA loan and you fall out and don't pay your bills, you default. HUD grabs a hold of it and calls HUD specialists, HUD certified brokers to sell it.
So does it make it more difficult if it's already an FHA loan? And again, this is just my limited knowledge. FHA loans are usually more stringent in guidelines for, being able to be financed that way, correct?
Yes and no. A regular streamline, but you have a 203B, you have a 203K. You can wrap in repairs, and they've kind of let some of the picayune little things go, like the screens on the windows and different things from back in the day. Now FHA is a little more lenient, so that
Okay.
can work the way it was intended. And there are escrow loans, escrow with repair loans that work very well if the mortgage person you're working with knows how to do it.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question is, I mean, you're the expert in the real estate side of it. And, walk this track with me for a second. Someone defaults on their FHA loan and HUD takes it back. They contact you and they say, Cally, listen, we have this house. Does it have to remain in, like, if someone comes in with cash, can they buy it cash and take it out of the FHA, like pay off the FHA?
No, it doesn't work like that. So what happens is HUD is securing that loan. It's like VA when they insure it.
Yep.
So what they're doing is ABC Bank gives Mr. and Mrs. Smith this house, right? This loan, and they go belly up. Well, HUD comes in on their big white horse and gives them a check. Here you go, Mr. Banker. Sorry about that. So the bank guy is paid off free and clear, no more mortgage. Now HUD has it in their inventory.
Okay.
Now HUD wants to give it to another family at $100 down rather than a 3.5 to give them a chance, because the program was designed to help homeowners own a home. Now,
Right.
it stays on the market for 45 days, or sorry, for 15 days, they allow investors to bid on it at a discount. That's how it works. But the program was first designed, first and foremost, we want to help homeowners
Get homes.
for the program.
And then companies like BlackRock came in and started buying everything they could possibly buy and jacking up rent. And now rent is through the roof in the market.
That's right. So HUD was very innovative in selling this owner occupant only. And it's very serious. If you are not an owner occupant and you think you can flip a home and you think that you can fool the government, no, no, no. You will sign an owner occupant affidavit. If you go ahead and try to turn that house after 60 days, there is a red flag on your title recorded in the county. You cannot sell it. You get caught. It's $250,000 fine, 5 years imprisonment. It's big doings. You don't lie to the government to
So
try.
what's the length of time I need to be the owner occupant? A year?
1 year and 1 day.
1 year and 1 day. You live in Brandon area. What do you like to do for fun when you're not selling real estate?
I love my friends, and most of my friends are people I sold houses to. So I love to visit, and I love to go see live bands and just enjoy people, life, the weather, just get out and go be the social butterfly that I am. I love to mingle.
Do you sing karaoke?
I do.
I don't know how I picked that up, but you have a little bit of a karaoke vibe. So you kind of touched on it earlier. One of the questions I always like to ask entrepreneurs is, has there been a time in your life when you've experienced a hardship, and how did you overcome it? But you already told us you lived in Kuwait, and you also told us you're a Patriots fan. So other than those two hardships, is there a time in your life that you could think of that, you were like, I don't know if I'm going to get through this, but you figured out a way to, turn lemons into lemonade?
Yeah, I did. I'm going to tell you, it's pretty interesting, I think. Back in '08 when we crashed, nobody saw it coming, blah, blah, blah. Well, I said, what am I going to do with this market? What the heck am I going to do? And in Tampa, we had a bunch of guru guys that were, I don't know if you remember, but we had like Eli Preston, the REO Rockstar, stuff like that. And social media was really gaining momentum. So what I did is I took a look at the HUD program and said, how can I sell homes? Well, I took my little HUD list of inventory and I got a big piece of plywood and I painted foreclosure lists and I parked it on the corner of MLK down in Tampa in the city, and investors would stop by, and believe it or not, they'd say to me, anybody that's going to work this hard, sit in the sun with a big old plywood in the back of your truck saying, selling foreclosure lists, like giving away free foreclosure lists, that's the girl I want to work with because you're a hard worker. And I'd say, thank you very much. And I gained a lot of investors then. And HUD came out with a program where they were bundling 10 houses for $250,000. But you couldn't cherry pick. You had to take that one under the bridge in Bush Boulevard. You had to take that one out in Mulberry that was a mobile home.
Yeah, but if you get one diamond in the rough, it kind of fixes it, solves all.
Right. Well, these portfolios are worth over 2 million now.
Right.
So I think I was going to get through that horrible, because I was a single mom raising my daughter, scared to death. I had 5 mortgages of my own because I was buying HUD homes and renting them out. Couldn't make the mortgages, sold everyone, never short sold one, sold them all, got out from underneath them. Poor, joke, broke as a joke, got through it. And I sold 102 homes in 2009. And they were HUD homes. And one of the HUD homes that I sold was less money than what I owed on my Jeep in the garage. And I drove a Cherokee SUV PTA mom Jeep, like it wasn't Rubicon or anything. So I think I owed like 15 grand on it. And I sold a house for like 15,000 out in Lakeland. So it was crazy times, and I got through it, and I learned a lot, and I learned how to be resourceful, and I learned how to shift to be with the market. Go with the flow. Don't fight it. Go with what you got. Make it.
It's funny you say that. I mean, in my experience, so I a little bit about my background when some of this. At one point in my life, I got my real estate license. Similar to your story, I was working for somebody else. It wasn't going the way I wanted, so I got my real estate license. I didn't like residential real estate. I didn't like the pace of it. Now, again, this is 25 years ago, close to 30 years ago. And it was when, you put an offer in, it was like a 45 or a 90-day close. It took forever, and everything had to be faxed back and forth and all this stuff. So the pace of it didn't work for me. But, I ended up shifting gears and getting out of it because it just didn't appeal to me. But what happens with a lot of people, I think, and the point of that was that I got into it in Atlanta pre-Olympics when everybody thought the Atlanta market was going to be similar to what happened here in 2021. Because everybody had these little houses and thought they were going to rent them for $20,000 for 2 weeks during the Olympics. And it just never materialized that way. The metro area is too spread out, et cetera. So I got out of it, but those markets like you're talking about, like going through 08, 09, a little into 2010, going through COVID in this market, and then coming out of it in Tampa when the market here, it was ridiculous. I mean, there was a period of time where a house went on the market on Thursday. It was open house on Saturday, and it was give me your best offer, and you don't even get a call back if you're not at least 50,000 over with cash. So some of those, the people who get through, the realtors who get through those periods of time are the realtors that are built to last, not the people that just said, hey, I want to do this and think they're going to be a social media influencer and it's just going to sell a house for them, which I see that too. This episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast is brought to you by Sebastian Bolivar with Guaranteed Rate. Lower rates, less fees, and a simpler process. Contact him today at 813-418-7465. So we talked a little bit about the past stuff, and we're talking about playing the market. Every day I talk to realtors, I talk to mortgage brokers, I talk to title people, all these people in this vertical. What is your take on where we're going? Because I've heard of this rate cut that's supposed to have been coming here for the past 6 months. It was going to be late Q4. It was going to be Q1. It's going to be Q2. What are you hearing? What are you seeing that gives you any indication of how you think things are going to go?
Anybody's guess. I always said if I had a crystal ball, it's tough. I see a rate drop and that's good. I see a lot of gentrification in Tampa. I see a lot of it's going to be the new California. People are moving here by the droves. I call it the COVID invasion. The numbers are in. It's 5 million people in 5 years. We're all bitching about. We're all talking about the traffic. I get it. But here's the thing: as far as real estate, people are always going to buy. People are always going to sell. We gotta be tough. We gotta hang through it. And the one little niche market that people aren't talking about, which drives me crazy, is FHA loans are easy to take over. You can assume an FHA loan if you have some cash. But by the time you pay your down payment and by the time you pay your closing costs, and with the NAR lawsuits. They're talking about buyers paying their own commissions now. With all that money down, you could take that 50 grand and assume an FHA loan that somebody bought in 2020, a $300,000 house before the price jump.
Right.
You could assume that payment for the equity that you're going to have, it's going to be a 450 house. So if someone has a Liz Pennon's default notice and it's a sinking ship, go knock on the door and save them. Go tell them, way we can do this. Let's take over these FHA loans. This country doesn't need another, it's not the interest rates. You understand? It's not the interest rates. It's not '09 where people lost their houses. It's not like that. This is different. This is a different economy, and it's difficult for people who are just barely making their mortgage. Now everything's so higher, they're behind on their mortgage, and they have a tiny little interest rate, and it's terrible. It's terrible what's happening.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest differences between the two was in '08, '09, you had all these arms that people were paying this low rate, and they all ratcheted in to kick up, and they were just jacked up through the roof. So their payment went 75% increase on their payment. The problem in this current economy is inflation is so high that people who could afford their payment and afford to live, now their living expense is so much higher that they're like, oh, shoot, I'm barely keeping my head above water.
Right. Cost of goods and services have gone up so high that they're living the same style, but it's $1,100 more out of their monthly budget. And they're still shopping at the discount stores, and they're still cutting corners everywhere and saving gas and doing all that. But the fact of the matter is it's $1,100 for an average family of four, and they're not receiving anything extra, doing anything extra. So where's that extra money coming from? And if you're already scraping by to make a mortgage, now you're in trouble. So, that's where I see the market going. I think we're going to have an increase in foreclosures, which scares me. But I also see a rate cut, and I also believe in Florida. People love it here.
Yeah.
They want to live here. But the trouble is I see the lower income people shifting out and the higher income people moving in from up north. And I think we're going to be the new California. And that's scary. I'm a Floridian since I was 19 years old. So that worries me. I worry that first-time home buyers are out of the market.
Tough. It's tough.
My daughter's 23. Her and her fiance are looking. It's tough.
The biggest thing is, you just go to Publix. Just go, Kroger, wherever you shop. Like, you go in there and they're ringing stuff up, and you think it's going to be $30, and it's like $70. It's like, that stuff's ridiculous. And in Florida, the other two really big things that I think feed into this are, number one, homeowners insurance has gone through the roof because so many people scammed their way into getting a new roof put on their house for nothing. Yeah. And auto insurance is now through the roof. It's as expensive to insure a car in Florida as it is in New Jersey. And half these people are uninsured motorists. So you have to have that on your insurance, or else you're never going to get any, coverage. You're never going to get anything back. You did bring up one thing, though, that I do want to get your take on before we wrap this up. You mentioned the NAR ruling. Okay. I have been hearing about this for 7-8 months. It's been coming down the road for a while. How do you think that's going to, I know how I think it's going to affect real estate agents, but I'll tell you how I think it's going to affect real estate agents, and you tell me if I'm wrong. If you're a good real estate agent that has a consistent amount of listings, it's not going to affect you at all. If you're a real estate agent that has only focused on being a buyer's agent, you are now going to have to sing for your supper a little bit more to get paid, either from the listing agent or from the buyer that's going to have to feed into the money. Is that the layman's elementary version, or am I completely wrong?
I think you're on the right track. I think I would agree with you. However, if I could just amend that slightly.
Yeah.
I think that let's keep it simple. Buyers and sellers are still here. They still have to sell their house. Buyers still have to buy. It's up to us realtors to work this out. Don't panic. There's lifeboats for all of us. Use your head, be smart, and try to understand. More realtors need to understand price fixing and how this lawsuit came to be. I worked with Coldwell Banker for a little while. They had pre-filled forms. I never agreed with that because most of my investors were repeat. So I couldn't give them a discount.
Right.
That's why they got into trouble, and that's why Coldwell Banker paid off what they did.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I had my license back in 1995 in Atlanta, Coldwell Banker, the rate was 7%. That was the commission, which was great, but you couldn't lower it. Like, you couldn't do anything. It was
my friend. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's wrong, and that's why we all got into trouble. But guess what? The brokers did that, not the realtors.
Right.
And realtors, where we got to tighten up. Realtors got to tighten up. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not downing the industry. I'm just saying realtors need to learn the rules more than just to pass the state test. Realtors need to understand. They need to fill out a closing statement with blindfolds on. They need to know this inside and out, and they need to understand the commission structure.
Yeah.
Because that commission is built in, whether the buyer pays it, seller pays it, doesn't matter. The net is still the same. Nothing's going to change. There's no need to panic. We need to do slight little changes, and that's it. But
and I think the moral to that is everything in a transaction, everything is negotiable. If you have a professional realtor working with another professional realtor, the two of those individuals should be able to work things out so that the seller gets the most that they can get while the buyer feels like they're getting what they need to bring people together. I mean, you touched on it very early in this conversation, was the fact that, playing nice with each other. You said you have 70 agents. We play nice with each other. We're not in competition. Look, everybody wants to sell and everybody wants to make money, and I'm not saying that a few bad apples spoil the bunch, but there are some really not great real estate agents that are out there, and I've said this forever. There's real estate agents, and then there's realtors, and then there's good realtors. Knowing who you're working with that has the expertise in what you're trying to do is vitally important. And interviewing people. I sold my last house. I interviewed 5 realtors before I made the decision on who I was going to use, because everybody has a different take. So, I agree. I think the moral to the story is everything's kind of negotiable. So with that being said, as we wrap this up, who is your ideal customer and how do they go about getting a hold of you?
The ideal customer is somebody that needs help. They need to be informed and they need to be inquisitive. How does this work? How do we get the house? What's the best? They need to learn the process. They don't want to, they just want the keys, move me in, tell me, like me when I buy a car. Does it have a good stereo system? Can I steer it? Really? Okay, where do I sign? How much
wheels turn? Yeah.
That's what buyers do. How much is the payment going to be and how big's the backyard? No, learn. And I will explain everything every step of the way. But if you take an interest in your own investment, you're going to do better. You're going to have a better product with a better result. So ask questions. I love to teach. That's what I want to do. And I want to show them how to get the best bang for their buck. I want to show them. I don't want to go show a new construction here, sign here. That's easy commission. That's great. I do love that too. But if you're looking for a residential resale and you're on a budget, this first time market is tough. Yeah. Learn and ask questions, and, don't go for that quickie, I just want to hurry up and get in, be smart about it. It's a big investment. And
what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Then go to my house hunter, Cally Doyle House Hunter on Facebook. They can go, they can call me, 813-610-5191. I always answer my text. I'm a realtor. I live, eat, and breathe with that phone.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're listening to this and you're looking for someone to help educate you through the process, you may even get some house remodeling tips in the process as well, because she loves to do it. We'll put all of her socials in the post, but you can call or text 813-610-5191. Cally Doyle, thank you for being a good neighbor. Thank you for being on the Good Neighbor podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I could talk about this day in, day out. You want to do it again? I'm here for you.
Maybe we'll get you your own podcast.
I'd love it.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Passcode. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnppasco.com. That's gnppasco.com, or call 813-922-3610.